Her smile was too perfect, and her beauty made my skin crawl. I met her when I was a boy, just 10 years old. Her name was Obiagili, and she came to our village one dry season, walking like she'd floated in from another world. She was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. Everyone thought so. Her skin was flawless, her eyes bright like the morning sun, and her voice soft and sweet, like a lullaby. But there was something about her that didn't feel right. My mother was the first to notice. A woman like that, she whispered to me one night, brings trouble. Mark my words. But no one listened. Obiagili moved into an empty hut at the edge of the village. She didn't say much about where she had come from, just that she was looking for a place to stay. The elders welcomed her. They said it was rude to turn away a stranger, especially one as lovely and gentle as her. At first, everything seemed fine. She helped with chores, fetching water from the well and weaving baskets with the women. But strange things started happening not long after she arrived. The first was with our goats. One night, a man named Ode had a commotion in his yard. He went outside to find all his goats huddled together, shaking, their eyes wide with fear. One of them had been killed, but there were no tracks, no sign of a predator. Just a small tuft of white hair on the ground. Obiagili had white hair. Ode told the village, but no one accused her outright. Goats die sometimes, the elder said. There's no proof it was her. Then, the sickness came. People started falling ill one by one. It wasn't like the fevers we were used to. This sickness was different, slow, quiet. People would feel weak, lose their appetite, and grow pale, like the life was being drained out of them. My mother got sick too. She stopped eating and spent most of her days lying on her mat, staring at the ceiling. I stayed by her side, holding her hand, as she grew thinner and weaker. One evening, I went to the well to fetch water. That's when I saw her. Obiagili was standing by the well, her back to me. She didn't hear me approach, and for a moment, I thought she was just drawing water like everyone else. But then, she turned her head slightly, and I froze. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. Not the way a fire reflects in someone's eyes, but like the light was coming from inside her. I dropped the bucket and ran home. I told my father what I'd seen, but he didn't believe me. You're imagining things, he said. But I could see the fear in his eyes. The next day, another goat was found dead. This time, there was no doubt, the marks on its neck looked like bites, and the villagers were scared. They gathered in the square to talk about what to do. We should send her away, one man said. No, another argued. If she's the one doing this, sending her away might make her angry. We need to be careful. That night, my mother's condition got worse. I sat by her side, holding her hand, and prayed for her to get better. That's when Obiagili came to our house. She didn't knock or call out. She just appeared at the doorway, her figure framed by the moonlight. My father stood up, startled, but she smiled, calm, perfect, and unsettling. I can help her, Obiagili said softly, nodding toward my mother. If you let me. No, I said, my voice shaking. But my father hesitated. He was desperate. What do you mean? He asked. Obiagili stepped inside, her movement slow and graceful. I can take the sickness away, she said. But it comes at a price. What price? My father asked. She didn't answer. She just smiled again, and I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Before my father could say anything else, I shouted, "Get out." Obiagili's smile faded, and for the first time, her face looked wrong. Her beauty was still there, but it felt like a mask. Beneath it, I could see something else, something cold and hungry. She left without another word, disappearing into the night. The next morning, she was gone. Her hut was empty, and no one saw her leave. My mother recovered slowly over the next few weeks, and the village went back to normal. But the goats stopped dying, and no one else got sick. To this day, I don't know what Obiagili was. A witch? A monster? something worse. All I know is that her beauty wasn't real. It was a trap, hiding something terrible beneath. And I'll never forget her eyes, glowing faintly in the dark.